The Clerk.
Next order of the day, private members' business, resolution concerning Coptic Christians in Egypt. Resumption of debate on the motion by the member for Hughes.
Question is that the motion be agreed to. No? I put the question that the motion be agreed to. All those with that opinion say aye. Contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The Clerk.
Next order of the day, private members' business, Aquis Export Service rebate. Resumption of debate on the motion by the member for Calare.
I put the question the motion be agreed to. All those with that opinion say aye. The contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. What's happening? The member for Hughes has the call.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. I seek leave to make a brief statement on the current situation in Egypt following the passing of my motion.
I understand there being no objection to leave being granted. Leave is granted. The member for Hughes has the call.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the presence in the gallery today of Grace Bishop Cyril from the Coptic Church, Reverend Father Jonathan Isaac, Reverend Father Gabriel Yasser, and my good friend and former Southern Shire Councillor Magdi McHale. Thank you. Mr Speaker, our motion recently noted that Egypt is currently experiencing a period of unprecedented transition, the success of which hinges on the full respect of the rule of law and compliance with international human rights standards, including freedoms of religion. Well, Mr Speaker, the motion that was just passed could not have been more timely, as it comes just days after we have seen shocking military violence against the Coptic Christians in Egypt. And during the recent debate, we noted that it was only on the 1st of January this year that a bomb was detonated in front of the Coptic Church, the Two Saints Church in Alexandria, which killed 23 people and injured more than 97. And that we noted that this was the most deadly violence against Egypt's Christian Coptic minority for more than a decade, when a massacre in the year 2000 left 21 Coptic Christians dead. However, Mr Speaker, it's very sad to say that the latest attacks on the Coptic Christians have left 24 dead and over 270 injured. And what we have seen on video of these recent attacks is armoured military vehicles driving at high speed, ploughing into unarmed Christian protesters. For members of this House that have not seen these videos, although they are graphic and horrific, I suggest that you do to understand the gravity of the situation. Medical staff at Cairo's hospital have told Amnesty International that the casualties resulted from bullet wounds and crushed body parts, resulting from people deliberately being run over by army vehicles. A young Christian, Vivian Magdi, whose fiancé was killed when an armoured vehicle ran over him, gave a tearful account to Egyptian TV. And she said, "His body was in the middle of the wheels. His legs were torn. His head hit the pavement, breaking his skull. Soldiers gathered around him and they started to beat him up. I begged them to leave. I said he was not breathing. Then a soldier came up with a red cap, shouting, cursing and hitting at me with a stick, and tried to continue to beat him. I threw my body over my fiancée and the soldier said to me, 'You infidel, why are you here?' Let's be clear. When military forces open fire on unarmed civilians and drive armoured vehicles at high speed into a crowd and kill at least 25, it's not only murder, it is mass murder. And Egyptian state television must accept some responsibility for this latest violence. For when they sent out a call calling on so-called honest Egyptians to rush to the defence of the military, which they said was under siege from Copts, and this resulted in vigilante attacks against Coptic Christian protesters who were merely fleeing the army's bullets and armour. Mr Deputy Speaker, the fate of Egypt will be determined on how Christians are treated in that country by the future. And the situation could not be more serious, not only for Egypt but for the world. The Coptic Christians are the largest non-Muslim majority in the Middle East. The Copts have been the intellectual entrepreneurs in Egypt, and the country will continue to decline without a strong Christian minority. We've already seen this year the collapse of the Egyptian tourist industry, and since January their share market has collapsed by 45% in value, pushing the economy to the verge of abyss. The country is fast running out of financial reserves. Growing hunger in the streets is a reality, and the latest piece of madness has pushed the country closer to the edge. And this risks people becoming more radicalised, pushing Egypt and the entire Middle East into a downward spiral. Now is not the time for silence or appeasement from the international community, for as the Copts go, so may go the entire Middle East. If a Christian minority cannot live in a country with a Muslim majority population without persecution and institutionalised discrimination, our future looks bleak. However, calls for world leaders for this latest atrocities for mere restraint from both sides is to naively fail to understand the situation. The Coptic Christians do not have a militia ready to engage the army. The moderate voices in Egypt must be put on notice in the strongest terms to root out any anti-Christian element in the army and to give equal rights to all Coptic Christians and to ensure their protection. Our US allies generously support the military in Egypt, and the Americans should be warning the moderate Egyptian voices that if they fail to protect the Christian minority, their military aid will be cut back. There is a real danger of this Arab Spring falling into a dark Islamic winter. Religious extremism must have no place in a modern society anywhere in the world, including Egypt. I thank all members of the House for supporting this motion, as it helps send an urgent message through to Cairo that to persist on the present course is to court catastrophe. It will also greatly galvanise much-needed broader international attention to the issue of looming Egyptian catastrophe. I thank all members.
The Leader of Government Business in the House.
Thank you. I
seeking leave. I understand it is the wish of the House to grant leave the Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I very much want to, on behalf of the Australian Government, express our outrage at the attacks that have occurred on Coptic Christians in Egypt. The resolution that was just carried by the House unanimously had an action component to it. Can I say that the government has already acted on each and every one of those action components? The Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister issued a strong statement. The Foreign Minister, I know, has raised these issues at the United Nations at highest levels in discussions when he was there recently in New York. The Immigration Minister, I know, has had a number of discussions with the Bishop and leaders of the Coptic community to ensure that appropriate understandings are there with regard to the circumstances in which Coptic Christians have found themselves. And the Australian Government will continue to make the strongest representations that the Egyptian Government provide equal rights and protection for all Egyptian citizens, regardless of their race or religion. This is a fundamental human right. It is one, can I say also, as the federal member for Grayndler, in which I have received strong representations, including from my local mayor, Maurice Hanna, the Mayor of Marrickville, and from others in the community who, of course, have very strong ties historically because of the first Coptic church in Australia, which was, of course, at Sydenham in my electorate. Indeed, myself and the association with the Bishop go back many, many years to the Marrickville Hardcourt Tennis Club when we were both very much younger. So this is an association that goes back 35 years, which gives away both of our ages in terms of our friendship and our dialogue. But can I say this, on behalf of the government, we will not be shy about putting forward these principles in terms of human rights, which we regard as universal. We haven't been up to now. We will continue to be so. And I'm very pleased that this is a position which unites everyone in this House of Representatives. And it is indeed, I congratulate the member for Hughes on his initiative in putting forward this motion that was unanimously agreed to. And I assure the members of the community that this is an issue which continues to be discussed and acted upon at the highest level of the Australian government.
Member for Kennedy is seeking the call or seeking leave.
Yes, I'd like to speak to the resolution and seek leave.
I understand it is the wish of the House to grant leave, and there being no objection, the member for Kennedy has the call.
Mr Deputy Speaker, arguably the most famous comment in the last century was the comment by Mikhail Gorbachev when he was appointed First Secretary, and he chose as his first statement to the rest of the world that the important thing for all of us to remember is that when we go on our knees at night to pray, that we all pray to the same God. And having been brought up in a generation where we lived a hair trigger away from nuclear holocaust, and I remember as a 12th grader in school with the transistor radio in my ear, as the rest of the 12th grade class at my school, listening to Kennedy's speech over the missile crisis, and I could feel the hair on the back of my neck standing up because it was going to be on. There was no way that a tough guy like Nikita Khrushchev was going to back down, and if you listen to John F. Kennedy, there was no way that he was going to back down. So it was going to be on, and we were going to be the children of a nuclear war. Now, good things prevailed, but that situation continued up to the advent of this most wonderful man, Mikhail Gorbachev. His family had preserved Christianity through 80 years of persecution, where it was effectively illegal to practice religion. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I think it's reasonable to say that I've had my life saved twice by two wonderful doctors, both of them, judging by their names, they would have been of the Islamic faith, and both great men who tirelessly worked extremely hard to save my life. So I wouldn't be here without those wonderful people. When the ethnic cleansing was taking place in Central Europe, NATO stepped in. So, if you like, the Christian countries stepped in to protect those Islamic people who were being persecuted. And in fact, they have pursued the architects of that oppression, the NATO countries, fairly ruthlessly. And it is very much to their credit. But then, again, if you're a Christian, you are supposed to love your neighbours, turn the other cheek, do good to those that hate you. That is the very essence of our religious beliefs in this country. For some people, they might be philosophical beliefs, but for the vast bulk of us, they're our religious beliefs. Now, Deputy Speaker, it gives me no joy to recall recent history on our planet, where over 1 million Armenians were murdered. In Spain, 55,000 people, or effectively Catholics, were taken out in the streets and shot dead, including 6,000 priests and 13,000 nuns. I quote from Simon Bevor's book on the Spanish Civil War. Seems to me rather interesting always that they talk about Franco. Well, Franco said, for everyone you kill, I'll kill 10. Well, I don't think he got up to 10, but he did a fairly good job. But that was payback. the original decision was to murder people because of their Christian faith. And 54,000 of them were just taken out in the streets and shot dead. And read the book yourself. In the Boer War, one of the great blemishes upon the soul of our nation was that we participated in the Boer War to make Mr Rothschild and Mr Barney Bonetto and Mr Cecil Rhodes, and it is a disgrace that there's such a thing as a Rhodes Scholarship. They wiped out half the Matabele nation, murdered them, and then they proceeded to murder 200,000 Boers, 28,000 women and children in the concentration camps. And Hitler was able to say, don't worry about it because the Turks got away with it in Armenia and the British got away with it in South Africa, so don't worry about it. We can go ahead and murder 6 million Jews as well. Don't worry about it. Well, I mean, this sort of thing has got to stop, and I very much praise the member for bringing it forward and the members of the Coptic Church, being from a later breakaway, the Western Christians. Their original Christians are sitting up there today, and in our little Christian group we had going here at Parliament House, which Kevin Rudd was a prominent member, Ross Cameron's group, we had a person who had served in Saddam Hussein's cabinet. He had a big silver cross, and I said to him, how long has your family been Christian? And he said, since 72 AD. And we praise these people that have stood on the ramparts and kept the Christian faith for 2,000 years and 1,500 years of it persecution. 1,500 years of it persecution. And in this place, I think we should serve very clear notice that we are not going to stand aside and see our fellow Christians and the fathers of Christianity continue to be murdered. That is not going to happen. And please God, Mr Speaker, our nation will grow over the next 20 or 30 years, as I think it must for its survival, to 60 million people, and we'll be a rich and prosperous and powerful nation. And we will defend that persecution that takes place. And if I could inject a personal note, my great-grandfather, effectively my great-grandfather, his brother was the patriarch of the Maronite Church. And they are people very, very familiar with the sort of persecution that is taking place up here. He came to Australia in 1870, so I don't really have a great deal of memories of that period. But all the same, I think that an awful lot of Australians will feel very great kinship, and even if we didn't feel a very great kinship, as fellow Christians we will not stand idly by and see fellow Christians murdered, just the same as we did not stand idly by and watch fellow believers in the good Lord murdered in Britain, near in those countries in Central Europe. And we hope that we would carry those principles forward into the future. And I very highly praise the member, and I very highly praise those people that have kept the faith through millenniums of persecution.
Order. Yep. Got to call the member for Melbourne Ports.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. I want to strongly associate myself with this resolution and commend the member for Hughes and all of the others who've spoken on this, particularly the member for Graindler, who has such a long association with the Coptic community in Sydney. This matter has worsened, not just in recent days, but when the Coptic Christians in Egypt faced attack over the Christmas season, when 23 people were murdered in Egypt then, we knew the situation had got a lot worse. The Egyptian society is undergoing turmoil at the moment because of their move towards democracy. This is no excuse, and I'm sure the Coptic community in Australia will agree, this is no excuse for the Egyptian military, the current Egyptian government, to ignore the rights of such an important minority in Egypt. The security and religious freedom of Coptic Christians must be respected, and we call on the Egyptian government to respect those rights and to guarantee those rights. Let's remember where the events of this last few days began. It's not, as portrayed by some people in the media, a fight between militant Christians and Islamic fundamentalists. This began with the burning down of a Coptic church, and this led to people making peaceful demonstrations which were attacked by people in the Egyptian army. I regret to say I've read reports that in provincial parts of Egypt, parts of the Egyptian provincial government and in even parts of the Egyptian military have participated in these attacks on Coptic churches. It's outrageous. I remember the words of His Holiness the Pope, who expressed his solidarity with the Christian people of Egypt when he's called on world leaders to speak out against attacks on Christians in the Middle East. This is the sharpest point of those tensions, and there can be no excuse by saying that society is out of control, we are in transition, that the Egyptian military cannot guarantee the safe practice of an ancient religion in their own country. The world is looking at how the Egyptian government behaves. We've seen as various members have said, the Egyptian economy, Egyptian tourism, all of these things are at risk. It's in Egypt's interest to look to protect its own citizens, its own Coptic citizens. And I commend the member for Hughes. I'm particularly pleased to be a member of the government and to have worked with various ministers, the member for Grainler, the member for Batman, who had a large delegation which I was part of that met Bishop Suriel in January with some of the Coptic fathers in Melbourne at the federal government offices. We will continue to concentrate on this issue, and the Coptic community in Australia should know that the Egyptian government will hear the voice of this united parliament to make sure that we show to the Christian people of the Middle East that we are fully behind them.
The clerk. I call the clerk, and I thank all those who participated in the debate, and I was certainly privileged to be here to grant leave for additional contributions to this bill, which is unanimously passed the Parliament this morning.